Welcome to episode 11 of Zero Basis Points podcast. You have Haik, Sahakyan, and George Guidotti rocking that ARQA sweater. I like it.
I like it too. This is my favorite shirt.
How's it going, George?
As we're moving further from the sun and the earth is cooling a little bit, although it's getting a little hot today, I get to take advantage of this long sleeve for autumn. So yeah, you guys hooked me up with some real deal swag, and it's,
I feel
my
like
wife
I
tells me I don't need to wear work clothes all the time. I'm like, babe, these are not work clothes. So
Yeah. You got the first backpack too, so you got that. I mean, not that you can rock it on the podcast, but you got the first backpack.
I don't even, I'm rolling ready. You know what I mean?
Love it.
Well, because right after this, I'm going on site with an RIA, so I'm going to have to be bringing my laptop and doing some demos. But
Awesome.
So, yeah, it's a busy day. So things have been busy. So I guess, I make these promises that we're going to do this weekly and then we don't. And I think it's just because we're over committing, or I don't know, it's just not. You've been traveling a lot, so we've got
we've
some
been
excuses.
building. Yeah.
We've got some legitimate excuses, but I'm excited to be back for episode 11. I should just
Well,
say,
it's funny. I was at a conference last week, and we had multiple people who I didn't even know were following the podcast approach, and they're like, when's episode 11 coming out? And I'm like, let me get home first. Well, I was with the team in Armenia for a couple of weeks, and then I came back and had to go to the conference. So I'm like, let me get home first to the studio, and I'll record it. So yeah, it's been funny. There's a lot more people that I see out there in our space that just approach us, and they're like, hey, I remember you guys. And then it was funny enough, I ran into your friend
amazing story
on the street out here in LA, and it was out of the blue. I'm walking down the street, I see someone pull up next to me and just like is looking back, and I'm like, is this someone I know? And then he pulls into a parking spot and he's like, hey, do you know George Guidotti? And I'm like, yeah, of course. And then it was just so hilarious. He's like, you look bigger in real life. and so he's been watching the pod too. So that was exciting to meet Tim.
Yeah, Tim's amazing. Amazing that you ran into him in LA. I mean, but I've had a big group of friends that have like kind of whittled down to a few friends over
Natural.
the last. I think that happened to a lot of us over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
But way back in like 2000, since 2000, me, Tim, and another one of our best friends, Mike, we were always talking about moving out to California, and just we were the three that did it. So and he was out there when I've talked about in other podcasts. I move out there with my girlfriend, and she's pregnant, and we have a baby, and I'm starting Grendel, my CRM firm for advisors. He was the first person where I'm like, yo, dude, Bridget's pregnant. And I'm living in a 1-bedroom apartment in LA, taking on like a brand new startup, like no revenue.
Yeah.
So, but he's like he's my best friend. I would say that about another guy too, but yeah, there are a couple guys, but yeah, he's an amazing guy. So I'm glad you met him. Yeah. Zero Basis Points is everywhere. So clearly all over New York, and now clearly all over Los Angeles. I mean, what else is there?
We got coast to coast.
Chicago, Denver. We got some other cities. Austin, going to have to go up against Rogan to get that market share. But we can do it. We can do it.
A fight for turf, right? So
exactly. Nothing new here,
Yeah, no. But give us one update on the gym, right? The fitness.
Yeah, I was ready to go there.
Yeah.
And two, what?
And two, what is it now? We're still in August, so you're almost month of ARQA's wrapping up. So give us the take.
It's been a month. So I'll start with the fitness, and then I'll get to ARQA. But so Pete, our co-founder with you, gave me like a program of, things to do on day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4 was off, repeat. And then I did that for like a month and a half. And then he gave me the next round, which would be day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7 rest. So I'm now on that new program, but I'm doing it. Like I feel stronger. And it's like the first set of things was really just getting strong, and now it's like getting strong and twisting, and so kind of building on like adding twisting and arching and weird stuff to get into muscles that are hidden, now that that core is built. But mentally I've never been happier. First of all, that ties into your second question because we're working together, and it's like it's by far the happiest I've been in my career since I was running my own app, Grendel.
That's awesome to hear.
But I feel happier now because I just feel like I have more wisdom and patience, and um, so. But the working out, I swore I needed to get like a spinal something because I felt like my body was inflamed. Because even when I go on long plane rides, like I'm like, am I the only guy on the plane who like cannot sit in this seat? And but now that I've been working out, like my core is stronger, and I don't feel like I need anything. I just needed more exercise and muscle building and a real routine. Like I kept trying to go into the gym. Like I have a little weight room, I'll call it. And like just for me, it's not to try to go in and do 4 sets on a bench and then 4 sets of dumbbells. Like I need a program. Like I'm not a CrossFit kind of guy,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but it's nice to have a pro. Like I wouldn't do that, but like this was a better way of me to get started because I also am like reporting to Pete, and I'm
Yeah,
not going to let Pete down. So I do not need him breaking my balls. So I've been happier and I feel great.
that's awesome.
But and on the ARQA, it's been incredible. So I mean, you and I have been talking about like working together for so long, and I think I have so much to say about it because there are a lot of people that think that Monday sucks. And to that, I say, you hate your job, you know, because I don't mind doing anything on a Saturday morning. I don't mind working for ARCA, like to be of service to ARCA because I enjoy it and the vision. And it's like everything that we've been talking about so far has been pretty right. And, humbly seeing that we're nailing how large enterprises need to deploy AI. And I don't think that there's anybody on the planet that can do it better than us in wealth management in the US.
Yeah,
So
agreed.
I know that. So and it's just as we go through the motions with these different organizations that are these huge orgs with manual bottlenecks that make humans have to twist and turn, we can just make that agentic and use the AI to smooth out that workflow so that people don't have to do the stuff that sucks. So Monday's awesome now. Go ahead and meet up with your homies. Let's talk about driving this company forward.
Yeah,
That's what ARCA does for you. And then the other RIAs that are just trying to deploy it, they're just talking about the limitations of their tools. Like we're not trying to bounce you off of them. It's okay, we know how we can enhance that. Maybe one day we'll bounce you off of a couple of them, but only because it'll make so much sense. But we just have such a good understanding of what we're doing that I don't mind working my ass off all day, 24/7, because there's a saying in entrepreneurship that when you own your own company, you don't have nights off and you don't have weekends, but you don't work either. And that's how I feel with ARCA. So it's not work, it's just integrated into the things I do best and that excite me to be better than everybody else at doing.
love
So
it. No,
yeah, it was
that's
kind of a
awesome.
ramble there. Hope it made sense.
I'm sure it did. I mean, I get it. Obviously, I'm here.
Right.
So, and I always kind of have the last month of working together. You already knew how I kind of execute what I work on. I've dropped you in a couple of deals to, run it. And it's been great. I've been super appreciative of your involvement on everything. Helps me kind of focus in on everything I'm doing as well. And we have raving fans for you in other places who have approached us and have been super excited about you joining ARCA and how, they worked with you in other capacities. And they're like, George was great. And so I'm so glad you guys kind of started collaborating. And I was like, it was a natural progression from the podcast to this. And I'm
Right.
super excited. I think we built the path out and it's been awesome. But, with that said, August has been surprisingly busy just given where a lot of people coming back from vacation and getting back to work and school and all these things. But the conference that I was at for Ignite, Cambridge's Ignite in 2025, that was awesome to be at as well. So that was probably the post-summer first conference. We'll have a couple of more, I think, Advise AI this year as well. But it was so good to be on the ground with Cambridge, listening to a lot of their advisors, how they were seeing AI. And there was definitely not a limitation of questions coming in, and people were asking about Copilot and Chat GPT and Zox, right? So I got to see a little bit of that as well, which was awesome. And really it's this integrated experience leveraging AI across the space. And when it always reminds me when we were at T3 in 2024, how kind of sporadic the understanding of AI was. And don't get me wrong, you do have some advisors who are just using it, they're not using it to the full capacity that they could. A lot of them are looking to the providers, kind of they are looking towards their BD, like Cambridge, like what are you going to roll out, because I'd rather use something there versus myself. Others are already on top of it, they're already signed up to a bunch of stuff and testing them out. So depending on the palette of the advisor, how much they want to test it out, their kind of tech adoptability, you're getting a spectrum. So it's awesome. But I think one of the things that stayed true, and this at the conference, I think it also was validation. If you want to leverage AI and you want adoption to be high, do the stuff that people don't find sexy and are it's super tedious for them. That's the easiest way or the easiest path to adoption. Because once you start trying to leverage AI and pushing AI onto them for the stuff they like to do, all right. They want to sit there with the client and they want to talk them through the plan, or they want to do some of their analysis and provide that as a value add themselves. Once you start trying to replace that with AI, it's going to be a blocker for sure. But when you start replacing the boring stuff, the stuff they don't even want to touch and they're just annoyed to do each time and it's super manual, they're going to open the door and just say, come right in, help me with whatever else is like this across my space, which is awesome.
Yeah. What makes your Mondays suck? Well,
Yeah.
let's start there,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
so that you can come in and be excited.
Yeah. And most of it was, the stuff that we've always talked about, right? Like there's this medial task that you're having to do and you got to run through these things. And I think with all the calls we're having with folks, it's the same repetitive thing. It's just the different puzzle pieces to that workflow. The tech stack looks different, so they got to jump into, system A, then B, then C, but they're doing the same data entry in each, etc. So it's awesome. And obviously, with Cambridge dropping the news too, with their AI agents doing the account opening, I think that was opened up the conversation a lot because folks were coming in and they're like, tell me about this. They were super excited. Obviously, the way it works and just some context on it is it's mostly for the Cambridge back office doing a lot of that work, which did take them so long to do. But they're already in talks about uncovering that for a lot of their FPs, and that's what they had presented. So the FPs themselves sitting in the Cambridge environment can do a lot of that and execute a lot of those workflows, leveraging those agents.
It's amazing. Like it's a real beautiful implementation of AI just to eliminate a boring bottleneck. It's exactly what you really led the conversation talking about your example of using AI to set you up with a world trip itinerary, but then when you have to go through and execute and do the trip, that part stinks. Like that's what the agent should be doing. And it's kind of like you took that and it's like your use case that you're talking about with Cambridge seems, right up that alley. So it's amazing. But yeah, I read like there was a lot about that post they made on LinkedIn was misinterpreted too. A lot that I would see on LinkedIn, but it was like because some people were thinking it takes X amount of minutes to do things when we're talking about such volume of agent work that I don't even understand.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like the engineering that made it possible. So I would love if you could even touch on that because you and I talked about, the misinterpretation of how powerful that rollout actually is.
Well, I mean, yeah,
You know
when
what
we
I'm
step,
saying? Does that make
yeah, yeah,
sense?
when
Okay.
we step back, it's funny because we both know Craig. He reached out asking about the 17 minutes. He's like, "Hey, what is this?" Because he was just looking for some context on it, and he's like, "What does this really entail? Like, was it really 17 minutes?" And I'm like, the way that the press release came out and where a lot of people were kind of stumbling on it were it said something around it takes a small team that they were running 9 days to do what the AI agent did in 17 minutes. They assumed that that was like one account opening that took over 9 days to do, or something like that. It's actually the sheer volume that takes 9 days to do. So like you're running multiple accounts openings per day. If you're thinking about the numbers of accounts that Cambridge is actually opening, it's over 1,000 accounts per day. So they're doing that over a 9-day period. Let's say if you're just taking that thousand, it's like 9,000 accounts open. Now, you could say the operations behind the scenes, the mechanics can be less than 2 minutes or whatever, but realistically, you're taking PDFs because the industry still relies on PDFs to do a lot of that data collection. Then you're interpreting those PDFs into different screens on your side of what the account should look like in all the fields. Then it goes out to a Pershing or Fidelity or Schwab or whatever, opens it up over there, etc. Comes back, confirms the account. So a lot of it is manual, admittedly. So the sheer volume that they're having to deal with is crazy. So per account, though, when you look at it, like the AI agent can do it in seconds. And so when a lot of folks, I think even, we had Jason Wenk comment on it where he's like, this was taking them 9 days and 17 minutes. Like you can do it under 2 minutes. Well, to be honest, I'm pretty sure, and I'll put my money on it, that my AI agent, if I were, to run it, is faster than your human entering in any data as well. So you're taking that entire process and compressing it. So realistically, when I look at numbers that I've seen, it's doing it within actually like under 20 seconds per account. You're doing 10 plus within 2 minutes. And he's talking about, hey, it should take an account under 2 minutes. Yeah, it's not the same thing. So it's great that people
Right.
are coming out and putting their opinions out there, but I think a lot of it is like, hey, you can do this without AI agents. Yeah, I mean, true, but you have to have an overhaul of the entire infrastructure to do that. And a company as big as Cambridge isn't gonna, rip and replace everything just for one operation. However, now they have the connective tissue that allows them to do a lot of the AI agent workflows that otherwise wouldn't have been possible, which is awesome to see. This was, I think, a classic case of how a large institution is going to start adopting AI and then how it spreads across the rest of their environment. And it's not always going to be just an AI agent doing one thing to another within their environment. There's going to be multiple instances of it, but it's also going to clear up a lot of, I think, issues and congestion around data cleanliness as well and all these things because you're slowly going to uncover a lot of the bottlenecks that exist within the entire infrastructure. And I think that's going to be an awesome journey to be on for them because it looks like they've started that. And
Yeah.
also for everyone watching, I'm gonna just share the Jason Wink response real quick so they know what we're talking about so we're not out of the blue. So this was
Yeah,
the
you and I take LinkedIn seriously. Unfortunately, it's a necessary evil in what we do. But so it's one of those things we scroll. It's where our industry is every morning. So it's of course we're going to obsess about a post that talks about something we did.
yeah. So it's like we're
Be
in this
prepared
space.
if you post about us. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's a lot of account
No,
open envy. So
we'll just clarify. That's all. We're clarifying.
that's it. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, this was the post. It's interesting to see it. I think it's awesome. Whenever other founders start to catch feelings, that means something is being done right. So it's great. So I think we'll see where it heads, but I think the reception was great. Multiple people were just like happy and surprised that Cambridge is even getting into the AI workflow space and the agentic space. But yeah, it's awesome. A little funny to rustle feathers here and there. So I enjoy it. And I've been doing this for a long time. A lot of people reached out after this. They were like, "Oh, what's going on here?" And I was like, "I've been putting up with large organizations trying to opinionate about what's going on in the industry for a while, including Adapar since 2017. So bring it. I love it." This
That's
is this
why
is
we're
the
at the
type of,
gym every day.
this is my Monday morning. Yeah. If you want to feel real pressure, buddy, put on some weight and try to pump the numbers now. And then maybe you could think about what you're doing in your company as well.
Yeah,
So
putting up weight has been kind of the theme of the week, with, like,
yeah.
politicians and, it's
I
so
like
let's
to
do it. I'm glad I've been training for the last 2
we're,
months.
we're training you for the battle that's the, preemptive at this point that we got to go after. So
Yeah, no, and I was born ready, but I definitely needed some, fine tuning. But it's incredible that fundamentally we see AI penetrating an organization at scale to remove bottlenecks. And the last thing I'll say about that post is I tread very lightly to criticize what AI agents are and are not capable of. Very careful about, because I just feel like that's just because I'll say something and then I'll be wrong real fast and I'll be wrong in a big way. So it's like, I'll just stay away from that. But I had to go. Wealthies conference is next week in New York City. So
correct. That's right.
I'll be there in my tux that I rented yesterday. Okay. So I go and rent this tux. I had this story. I go into this place. This is an AI story, but it just explained to you how inefficient this was. This is and I'll just be totally transparent. So Joseph A. Banks, real close to me, easy rental and return. But I go in there and there's two guys working. One guy starts to take care of me right away. And then this other woman walks in with two toddlers and like their middle-aged son, and she needs tuxes for the toddlers for a wedding. So the other guy takes care of those. And I'm just trying to knock it out because I also have to pick up my son at football. This is after work yesterday. And it's like I'm already late at this point. And so while I'm working with this guy, trying to finalize my tuxedo rental transaction, the other guy comes over that was taking care of the lady and her two toddlers who need tuxedos for a wedding. And he says he's got to leave, can't figure out something with the computer system that obviously this guy understands better, but he's got to bounce. Like he's been on the clock too long. He had his own personal water bottle. And I made a comment. I go, that guy's just going to bounce on you like that. And he was like, yeah. This is a grown man. And, he's not going to criticize his fellow worker. Dude, that guy's on his way out the door to bounce with his water bottle. And another guy comes in with his son. He goes, hey, real quick, it looks like you're about to leave, but I just need help. He takes that guy around the store. He's picking shirts off giving his spoiled son, you need two of these. How about this? You want this too? But takes so much more of that guy's time. Meanwhile, the lady in the back with the two toddlers is seeing this guy was just helping me and he was about to leave. Then this other guy takes him. So there's just so much tension in the store that I'm dealing
Yeah.
with. But what's really taking the long time is the elderly gentleman that's taking care of me is handwriting down bow tie code, cummerbund code from a catalog. And then he walks it over to the register and he's putting it in the computer. I'm like, dude, core script, core script. I
Read your
swear.
entire
So,
catalog and take the IDs out.
so core script, and this wasn't a commercial, but really well, I guess it's a real life, but core script is ARQA's tool that can scan a very complex financial statement and make sense of it and send it downstream to an agent to execute on something like a new account or whatever you want it to do. But all I was thinking is, if that guy's in the catalog, it could have just been a screen that I touched and then I added my card to it. But I needed that guy's expertise. I wanted him to measure me because he gave me a white shirt that I'm like, dude, this thing's like, it was like up here, I want
Yeah,
my
yeah.
collars down here. But so I needed a tailor or someone that could measure me and make sure I'm getting the right stuff. But so much tension and time wasted in that store when it could have just been, you know. So now I see how AI it will work into that organization of like, people are complaining about the time it takes to rent a tux. Because really that's got to be like the main thing keeping that store going. Like that one guy came in at the end and bought a bunch of shirts real fast. But otherwise, I'm like, why would people come into Joseph A. Bank? No criticism to anybody that buys their clothes there. They look very nice. I was just wondering how they pay the rent when there's just three people in the store and the only thing they're doing is renting tuxes aside from random dude. But
Yeah. No, I mean that's a good point. But one thing you did mention that I think is great, and it's middle ground of what a lot of folks need to understand with AI is the expertise, right? So you need to work closely with the humans that are doing the work today if you're going to build an AI agent that replaces that work, that process, that workflow. Because all the intricacies of like, oh, well, I looked at this and I knew it was that or whatever, need to be programmed out for the AI to start understanding and reasoning through a lot of those same decisions. And that's the big piece. A lot of folks just think, oh, it's just an agent, I'm just going to run it. But realistically, no, you have to bottle the expertise of the existing humans doing the work into the agent's logic and the reasoning, and then allow them to do stuff. So now they can catch the issues. Now they know what's missing much quicker than a human does. But that was a great point. I mean, to your, to the story, it's like you can do all this stuff, but you're still going to need that expertise. And you're going to have to take that and put it into something to then go out and do it correctly.
Yeah,
So
I hope that when they deploy AI to Joseph A. Bank, there's that old guy is saying, "Damn it, I need to measure his arm."
yeah,
And that somebody there says, "You definitely have to measure the arm and the neck.
yeah,
Otherwise, these tuxes aren't going to fit. And everybody's
exactly.
going to look like shit at their event."
Yeah.
So, I,
Well, what's funny is
back to you and I are always advocates for the human
yeah,
experience. That's why we're on earth, to experience life, for the experience. So we're not taking that away. We're just taking away the shitty parts.
exactly. And I think one interesting thing at this conference too, we had multiple breakout sessions at Ignite, and we started talking about just generally AI. So they had a study group that was using their free time to just talk about AI with other FPs that are under Cambridge. And so I went in there, really great questions, mostly around, their operations and where AI can help, et cetera, and what does this mean. But one of the things that they started asking, because we started getting into free form, because I think people who are genuinely interested start asking like all these off the cuff questions around AI. And I was telling them, I'm like, you're talking about generative, LLMs that are coming out. There's reasoning AI now that are being able to kind of go through these processes, just like, in a scenario or whatever. And then the next things are agentic plus. And one of the guys says, he asked, he's like, so what do you see? Like, where's this heading? Like, what's after agentic? Like, do we even know? And I was like, to be honest, like a lot of folks, I think agentic is a very interesting spot. There's going to be a lot to do there. It's not going to be a quick kind of hop on over it.
Right.
It's not like the generative LLMs that were like, hey, you can ask questions, get responses, and now you're executing workflows. But I thought it was an interesting question where I think it's potentially heading. And my answer to him was like, well, look at the journey of AI. We went from having it generate text and images and all this stuff to actually executing and touching workflows in the digital space. Where it's falling short is touching the physical world. And that's going to be where it probably heads next. This mesh and this kind of collaboration of AI plus robotics will be the next kind of, I think, frontier. And that's where even if you follow Nvidia just for the markets or whatever, they just
Yes.
released Thor, their microchip that allows for the humanoids that they're kind of building out for public purchase. And I think it's around 3,500 per chip or whatever. But you'd be able to train like an AI robot and put it into an actual hardware to do stuff. So I think that's going to be the next thing, and it's going to come quickly. But you're going to have, you're not going to have a physical robot sitting in front of your computer doing the workflow per se. You'll still use agents, but the next frontier of like where AI goes, I think, is going to be the physical world, and that's going to be interesting to see. So
Yeah, I know. Then you get all crazy and woo woo. And are we the end
trying to,
result of
yeah,
that effort from another advanced alien species? Here we are. We're in it. We're in the reality. Here we
yeah,
are trying to figure out the reverse. Like we're
yeah,
engineering in reverse, back to the computer, looking for
exactly.
home. you know?
Exactly. So it's interesting to see that progress. I mean, being in the space, we're obviously seeing a lot of it in the wealth management, but it spills over into so many other things. And even the platform that we've built to control a lot of like the agents, they call it a multi-agent system. That even goes into other places where people are going to come with problems that are going to be in the wealth management space, but then it's slowly going to be like spreading, speaking to like consulting shops. They're like, oh, can you just do this for like this other client we have? And it's like invoice reading stuff, and that's a general use case for multiple industries, etc. So it becomes interesting very quickly, and you have this, like, it's almost like a rubber band between the focus on wealth management or how you're building, but then you're able to just add so much variables and expand across another industry and then come back again. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, we're still figuring it out. We're flying the plane and building it at the same time. So
Yeah, it's like an economic term, elasticity, the
exactly.
elasticity of demand, but like how elastic is AI? Well, it's like to infinity. But I like what you were saying before, like at the conference, what do you see as the future? And it's like, you think about a black hole and the event horizon, seems like agentic is the event horizon. Like, can't really see past that. We just know it's pulling everything in, and you know, it's so it's exciting to be on the building side of it. But what's exciting about it is that it removes a little bit of the doomer in me on AI, because I really do think that if AI is deployed in a way that removes what stinks, and as a species we say this is what we have to do to stay fit, don't get a robot to go hunt your food, kill it, and cook it. Otherwise, you're just going to be a fat slob on your couch, no matter how much money you have. So, if as a species we say it's nice that the robot can prep the meal, but I've got to go hunt and kill today, and my human instincts need to remain optimal. Otherwise, I'm just going to be like a fat bear in a cage at a zoo. So
Pretty much it.
can't be doing that. You need to be like a pirate on a ship. It's you know,
We like
feeling
that
good,
analogy.
hunting whales.
Yeah.
So it's awesome though. But I'm loving this journey, and like I'm so glad that we got together for episode 11. If everybody only knew how early this is happening, you
Well,
know,
I
the
got my
things
I
you
got my
do.
espresso like this
Same
morning.
here.
Yeah.
And I have my Yeti here, but it was because this is my second espresso of the day. You're 3 hours behind me, but sometimes I like to make it and then have it a little bit later.
Yeah.
That way I don't have to go upstairs to make another one. I guess
Yeah.
I'm talking pretty
People can
lazy.
tell. Imagine what time it is if we're just down in this. Well, yeah, I'm 3 hours behind, but
And
it's a
such a big
commitment.
day for both of us. So
Correct.
I leave right after this. Got a great strategic discussion with a partner I'm chomping at the bit to talk to. Then on site with a group of over 200 advisors. So we got that, and then lunch with the same bunch. And then I come back for exciting sessions with you in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So then I got to
Well, I'm
pick
gonna
my
have to
son up with
squeeze in a
football, and
workout.
then that's when I crash and hit a wall, and I run out of all this energy I have in the morning. So
But to be honest, when you go to sleep at night, whenever you do, it feels good where you're like, this is exactly what I wanted to do in the day, and I executed. And things come up obviously on the fly and whatever, but I think one of the things that a lot of folks can relate to is whenever your head hits the pillow and you're just out because you're so tired from just a very impactful day, you're like, this was it. This is how it should be, right?
yeah,
Versus
like a
moping
Viking
around.
after a day of battle. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
And I'll text you at the end of the day. I'm texting you, and like I'll fall asleep in the middle of texting. I'm like, I can't keep up with it. And then I wake up and I have my espresso. I'm like, yo, I
And
got
then
these
just
new ideas.
continue where you
Yeah,
left off. Yeah,
that's why we podcast this morning instead of text a bunch. It's makes it easier, and then we get to share it with everybody. So
did you,
it's
but
fun.
speaking of, because we did pull up LinkedIn, did you get, I think I sent this or Pete might have sent this, the video where the guy was like, bullying on social media should exist on like LinkedIn or something like that? Or that's the only platform it should exist
Yeah,
on?
I think I saw that. I have a couple threads that were making fun of LinkedIn this week. And
Yeah.
so I think about LinkedIn, yeah. But it's like it kind of feels like LinkedIn's like kind of like high school. You just got to play the game, make sure you get all the dances, and like that's how you're gonna meet the people you want to meet and get to the
Especially in
cool
our space.
parties.
Yeah.
So
You
that's where
can't
all the
peel
fun
away.
is. So you got to play the game. So until we build something to replace it, we'll be on LinkedIn. Um,
Yeah, at that point.
um,
But at that point, I don't know what's next. Well, it's funny because I forget who I was talking to. It might have been Gev from our end, and we were talking about how LinkedIn, the initial rollout of LinkedIn was like a failure, and now like obviously it's turned into the professional site it is for social media for professionals, but realistically, like there's so much stuff and so much noise. And scrolling through, one of the things I hate the most is like you'll post something or someone will post something, it won't show up. Then like a week later you see it in the front page and it's like, where was this when it was just posted? But that
Yeah,
activity can
yeah,
get nuts.
I'll make a comment on something. I double check now, and then I look, it's 2 weeks old. I'm like, dude, like 2 weeks old. I don't want to see anything that's 2 weeks old. My pet peeve with X is that I can't scroll by most released. So you've got to get to their news section. So I love the app, but that's like one of the things about it. And maybe instead of LinkedIn, we'll create Broken Chain.
You
and
just have a bunch of
and
folks
and
on
it'll
there.
just be a fun place where people can collaborate about real ideas. Instead, it's like the Instagram of business. It's like everybody's posting their best moment. It's like that's why I deleted Instagram.
Yeah.
But I don't want to look at anybody else's pictures. I barely have time to look at the pictures my kids want to show me.
Yeah. Imagine it's so funny if you just take anything like social media worthy, it's like Snapchat for professionals, and it's like, it's a picture that disappears and is gone, and everyone was using it for other purposes back in the day. It's like, what are professionals going to do with it? Send like information, confidential information, and it disappears into the ether and
Yeah,
never to be found again.
it's like one of the things I
But
tell myself. I'm like, it doesn't matter anyway. Meanwhile, I'll get off this and I'll get all ready and ask you what you think of my LinkedIn video to make sure it's good. And I'll do 20 takes,
hey,
and
but those
my
have been
heart will be
really spot
pounding
on.
while I'm doing it.
They've been
But
awesome. On the rooftop of the building in New York, the office
I
there.
love our office in New York City.
Yeah.
What an amazing time, man! I could spend the whole time talking about this because I daydreamed about New York City until I realized I wasn't going to live there. I ended up moving to the West Coast with my wife and all that kind of stuff. Until then, I thought I was going to move there. But to revisit it at this point in my career, and to me, I love the Lower East Side, the Village. It's cute and all, but man, Midtown's where it's at, dude. That's what I always imagined. I used to frequent the Four Seasons at 57th and Parks, like that whole section of New York. That's New York to me. Just like in Philadelphia, Rittenhouse Square is all that counts. I know there's a lot to it, but don't send anybody to any other part of Philly than Rittenhouse Square. You don't want to ruin their perception of the city by sending them to some other part where hipsters hang out. But they can appreciate the art, but it takes some work to appreciate the art of a shitty neighborhood. Um, but anyway, I know we have busy days, and I really appreciate that you got up, this early to do this before. And I know I could keep rambling on, but um, thank you for doing this episode 11 again, and to all the people, we'll keep trying to get these episodes out,
Yeah.
with a better frequency.
And one thing I'm gonna say, there's two things I want to do for 0 basis points moving forward. One, I've had a lot of folks ask if they can come on, or people
Same.
asking like who they'd be interested in bringing on. So, we should definitely collaborate on getting someone in on the episode 12. The other thing I'm gonna do is I get so many interesting questions throughout the week or between the times we're filming the podcast, and I'm sure you do as well. I'd love to have like a tracker of all the interesting stuff that come up and handle them here. Like, because there's so much value in the idea share of one of these folks thinking about certain stuff and how that transcends into other people just sparking the thought or continuing the thought, or they don't know how to put that thought together and they're just like, I don't know where to start. So I'd love to add a segment to the podcast where we're just like, here's all the interesting questions I've gotten throughout the week or 2 weeks, and we just answer them here, and then everyone can kind of listen in and be like, that's the same exact problem I have, or that's exactly what I'm running into. So I think it'll be awesome to have that as be the hub for the idea share. So those are the two things I'm going to
Yeah.
do. And as a part of this kind of sign off on episode 11 is like, reach out to us if you see this, when you see this, of folks who you would want to have on here. We'd love to bring them on unfiltered, just have a jam sesh with them. So we already have a list of a couple that are in our space, but we're open to suggestions as well.
I know we're thinking about Sarah Baker, so we're going to have to reach out to her. We've got some use cases And she's got some new things going on. So we've talked about that, but other people are going to have to give us suggestions. We've got other ideas. So, and your most complicated upstream use cases, downstream of how you want to use AI that you might otherwise outsource to a consulting, just give it to us to run through our brains, and we'll cover it on the next
Yeah,
episode.
we'll
So
be
just
the open AI consulting services, but for less than $10 million. Yeah.
that's right. Yes. For the cost of 0 basis points.
Yeah. Love it. Well, George, I'm gonna let you off. So I know you have a busy day, so do I. So we'll wrap up here. Thanks so much for the time as always, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
All right. Thank you, everybody.